Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Horror Show. I'm Sean.
I'm Joe.
Every week, we dissect, mutilate, dismember, and butcher all of your favorite and not so favorite horror movies and other horror-related events. What are we talking about this week, Joe?
This week, we're talking about our favorite horror movies of 2014.
Oh, yeah. God, I can't even imagine. That's probably my worst nightmare. No, I guess it's not my worst nightmare, but I definitely wouldn't be happy about it. Well, Happy New Year, Joe.
You too?
It's 2015.
It is.
Which means you are barraged by about 1 million articles listing anything you want. Any list you want for the end of the year, you can find it online.
You can?
Absolutely. And we are going to be no different in that sense.
So original.
Hey, it fills up an episode, right? Get it done. So this week we are going to be talking about our favorite movies of 2014.
Yes.
So now we started this podcast like the last week of December. So we weren't completely up to snuff with every movie that was released in 2014. But in the last literally 7 days, we have watched...
It's more like 5.
Is it? I can't even remember when we record. It's been a lot. It's been short time.
Yeah.
I was trying to enter all the movies we watched. Like I'm trying to keep notes on them because I watched so many. And I was like trying to put the date I watched them. No recollection because they've just been every day, every night I've been watching them, trying to just get us up to snuff. And we've watched over 12.
It's crazy because every year I keep track of how many movies I watch through an app. And I watched like 150 movies this year alone. And just for this podcast, I was like, holy shit, I haven't seen any like the big ones that I really wanted to. So we crammed like 12 in 5 days, 6 days.
It's crazy. That's crazy. And it's so funny because before this, as a father, you like lose all this time. But I had like a list of horror movies. I was like, I'm going to watch these. Like, I just want to watch these. Never got to them. And in the span of 5 days, I've watched over 12 horror movies.
Yeah. Well,
it was awesome.
I'm like so glad that we decided to do this show because I finally got motivated to watch all the things that I wanted to watch.
It's
like you said, I keep putting on the back burner. Like there's these movies I really wanted to watch, and then I just be like, I'm gonna lay on the couch and do nothing.
That's exactly right. Or like it's just an excuse. I can like my wife, who actually likes horror movies, but it's just you can't watch a horror movie every night. But now I have an excuse.
But now we can.
Now we can.
Now we have to.
And she actually doesn't care. Like she believes this excuse. So please, no one tell her that this is. the 4 of you listening, don't tell her that there's 4 of you listening. Just re-download the show like multiple times. So I can look. There's like 60 people depending on me to watch.
There's dozens of them
to watch. Make Them Die Slowly. So please, we have to watch this tonight. I have to for the fans, honey, the fans. So needless to say, it was. I wouldn't say it was grueling. It went by pretty fast, actually.
I actually loved it.
I loved it, too.
I haven't done that since like my college days where I just binge watch horror.
I just wanted a tiniest break to play video games because I'd be like, "Ooh, I want to play a game tonight," and then I was like, "Ah,
I hear
shit,
you.
I've got like 6 more movies to go."
I know.
So we are pumped, and I think we've seen some of the best of 2014
for sure.
to offer.
For sure.
At least, yeah, I would say so. I don't think anyone's going to be annoyed at what we left off. Well, I mean, everyone's annoyed by what we leave off, but I think they'll understand.
Yeah, and there's obviously some that I still have high hopes for, but I do think we hit a lot of the big ones.
Right. Yeah. So let's get this started. Let's talk about this. So where do we start? I mean, this was a wild ride. I mean, okay.
Do you want to start with honorable mentions maybe first? Get them out of the way.
Yeah, let's also talk about the beer we're drinking.
Oh yeah, we are drinking beers
Again. We are drinking Founder's Breakfast Stout, and it's a little bit like heaven in your mouth.
It's delicious.
It's so good. So good. And I was chugging these during some of the more fun horror movies that we watched. The beers were not fun during some of, okay.
Yeah, there's some movies that if I drank, I would just cry myself to sleep.
And I was pretty close. Pretty close on some of those. So Starry Eyes, chose not to drink, but that's because I had to split that one in half. I had to split that movie in half. I had to watch half one day and half the other because my wife fell asleep. But I was super glad I didn't drink.
Yeah, I
during that.
wouldn't have been able to handle that.
I would have just cried all night. Yeah, so I guess, okay, so how about this? How about we start, let's give a rundown of all the movies that we have watched over this year that are kind of just in the running or in lists that we've seen, whether they're on our list or not. So we'll just go through a bunch of the movies we watched and just kind of as a primer, just so people know what's in our pool, what's in our wheelhouse. Yeah. And I mean, we saw more than this, but this is kind of just a narrowed down version.
Yeah.
So Babadook, the Babadook,
yep.
Right? I should probably pronounce the names correctly. I just have my notes. So it's the Babadook, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tusk. Housebound. Taking of Deborah Morgan. The Taking of Deborah Morgan. Logan. Oh, yes. Oh, and that is written that way. So I don't know why I said that. What did I? Morgan. Because that's from Dexter.
Dexter.
I know, dude. I've been saying it nonstop since I watched this movie, and it pisses me off. Oh, I hate her so much. The Sacrament, The Den, Willow Creek, The Town That Dreaded Sundown, Starry Eyes, Dead Snow, Red vs. Dead, The Guest. Do you have anything else?
I had Exist, and I actually threw Gone Girl and Nightcrawler on my list, even though they're not technically horror, but I'll explain that a little later.
I didn't see Gone Girl, but Nightcrawler, that's a stretch. I mean, The Guest, in my opinion, is a stretch, but less of a stretch.
I agree. Mm-hmm. I'll explain it later.
Okay, that's fine.
Did we say Willow Creek?
Yeah, we did.
Can't forget that one.
We did. And no, we won't. And maybe we should just start there because it's not on either of our top of our things. So Willow Creek was probably one of the last ones I watched. And I can't even begin to explain how disappointing that was to watch. Like in the middle of all these amazing movies. From that list, I mean, was there any movie that you were just like completely disappointed with?
Willow Creek.
Right. Yeah. That's it. That's crazy. Like
that was the biggest disappointment.
That movie was awful. And this is on people's top 10 lists.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I went in with high expectations because I actually have enjoyed Bobcat Goldthwait's directing the past couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I love Bigfoot. I fucking love anything that has to do with cryptozoology or creatures in the woods. I just love it. So I had high hopes.
You can ask anybody that I know. I am the biggest fan. Okay, when Super 8 came out, and Cloverfield, all I wanted was a furry monster. Bring the furry monsters back. Why do they all have to have scales?
Yeah, tentacles.
And slime?
I agree, dude. Bigfoot
Bring the fur
is the
back.
best.
Yeah, no, Bigfoot is amazing. And I was so pumped. And this movie was an absolute nightmare. And we're probably going to say some spoilers in this episode. I was going to try not to, but I think it's kind of hard sometimes.
Yeah, talking about this one,
like we might slip. I don't know what to say really. I mean, if you don't care about these movies, our top ones we won't spoil.
Yeah,
let's do that. The best ones we won't spoil.
I mean, I'll try my best to tiptoe around.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to try and spoil anything, but I am going to spoil Willow Creek because it was such an abomination that you shouldn't watch it. So we talked about this actually, I think last week about the graininess of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. It adds that feel to it, like you shouldn't be watching it. And to me, The Den, which we will talk about later, same. It did something that it's hard to do in a found footage movie, which is make it look grainy and like, should I be watching this? Is this real? Like, kind of, even though you know it's not real, it suspends disbelief. And that was like, to me, that was huge. Like, I've never seen anyone like that. Using digital to do that was amazing. Regardless, these people are trying to film a documentary on the shittiest quality footage like a home VCR, like a cassette camera.
See, this is why I like that aspect, because these aren't professional filmmakers. They're just two jamokes.
No, but he's trying to be a professional filmmaker.
But he's not. So
I guess I like that, but at the same time, and by the way, his best acting was when he was trying to be a bad actor, which I don't know if it's acting or not. When he's like trying to talk on the microphone, it's just awful. It was just awful. Anyway, so that was my first problem, was just the quality. And then let's just fast forward because it's all bullshit.
Well, let's not forget the side characters that they introduced, like
I can't rub my head hard enough right now. I'm like
Bob
so
Dylan of
frustrated.
Bigfoot. What do they call them? Like,
I feel like I've been doing this.
An asshole.
I feel like I've been doing this podcast for like 3 hours already, just because of this movie. So, yeah, the singers. Oh my gosh. Why are there multiple singers singing about Bigfoot?
I don't. Is
you
that
had
a
to
thing
include
in the
that
Midwest? No.
What? Are you serious? Like, we got it. It's a big thing in this town. You don't need to include 2 people singing 2 Bigfoot songs.
I agree. And
it was nutty.
One of the, as weird as this sounds, like I've said this before, I don't like Paranormal Activity. I don't like the Blair Witch Project. But after watching this, I actually want to go back and revisit them because, like, it can't be worse. Like, it can't be more boring with nothing less happening in them.
Guys, I'm going to tell you something. There is about a 30-minute scene of them sitting in a tent.
In a fucking tent.
In silence. Dead silence. Also, if you're, oh my God. So you could say to me, you could argue, and one of you might, what would you do in a tent if you heard something outside? Wouldn't you be quiet? Totally.
Agreed. And you actually made this point to me before. It was yes, that's super realistic. I hear those noises in a Bigfoot infested area. I'm going to be scared shitless. I'll be scared shitless for probably 20 minutes. You don't need to include the full 20 minutes of me being scared shitless in a movie. Fucking movie.
It's not real time. Mr. Goldthwait, you don't have to record the movie in real time. You can edit things out at the end. Yeah, it was awful. And I guess I won't ruin the ending for you, but guess what?
See, all right. The ending was so stupid that I almost liked the entire movie because of it. Like that,
no.
it was so absurd that I was like, wait a second. I think I like this now.
No. No, you're getting, I need to talk about this, and I like this, confused. Because at the end, I was like, I need somebody else to watch this, because I need to talk to somebody about how fucking stupid this was. It was so insanely stupid.
See, I revel in stupidity. So, like, what it was also like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I know there's been other times in my life where something's happened for like 2 hours. I'm like, man, this sucks. And then one thing happens. I'm like, that was so stupid. I was like, this is fucking awesome.
You realize that, but see, that's because you realize the whole thing's ironic, and this isn't. This is not, and it's just not good enough. Anyway, we should probably stop talking about this movie because.
That did not make my best of list.
And we'll probably be spending way more time on this than any other.
I want to ask you something, though, before we move on. What do you think the Rotten Tomato score of Willow Creek was?
Oh, okay. So,
and then I'm going to ask you what you think the IMDb score
actually,
was.
let's save that. We're going to guess the score until after our break. So we're going to keep moving. But yeah, we're going to introduce a new segment on the show where we're going to try and guess Rotten Tomato scores of great and terrible movies.
Nice.
And just see how awful people on the internet
That was the worst segue to our new segment that I could have ever done. Half an hour too early.
hey, it works, man. All right, so with that out of the way, because that was legitimately the worst movie that we watched.
Yes.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
I can't even believe it made lists.
And before we go to the next one, I'll just throw in that you did not watch this movie, but I watched this movie called Exists, which was directed by the guy who actually made the first Blair Witch Project. And it was another movie about Bigfoot. And I see people online tearing it apart. I fucking loved it because it didn't beat around the bush. Like, Bigfoot was just in your face from the get-go. It was another found footage. I think it was with GoPros. But Bigfoot was there. And he was just terrorizing shit, and he was fucking shit up the entire time. And that's what I want to see.
That's what I want to see, too.
I want to see a goddamn Bigfoot movie starring Bigfoot.
I like the GoPro aspect.
I did, too.
I think that's great. I think that's a great way of using like real technology instead of just like, oh, we've all got these wonderful cameras.
I mean, I can understand why people are getting tired of found footage, but I'm not there yet, and I enjoyed using the Go. I mean, it is what it is.
Found footage.
It's the age that we live in.
I love found footage.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think found footage just kind of immerses you a little bit, and it may be lazy in the sense that I think it's a tool to like I tell you, like suspend your disbelief. I think that's a big part of horror.
Yeah.
So I think found footage is a tool. It could be used lazily in the sense that it's like, well, we need to suspend their disbelief, so let's just pretend it's real,
Right?
And use a camera. And then if the movie sucks, it still kind of seems real, but it's
Right.
not.
So my 2 cents is, if you're going to watch a Bigfoot movie, watch a Bigfoot movie that, features
Sure.
Bigfoot.
Sure.
So I would choose Exists.
All right. So I guess we'll start with, you know what? Why don't we do our top 5 first? And then we'll go back and do the honorable mentions and cover any movies that aren't in each of our top 5.
Okay.
right.
Does our top 5 have to be in order? Because I don't know if I have a clear cut top 5. I just have 5 that I would choose.
I have a clear cut. I don't have a clear cut 5, but I kind of do.
So why don't you take the lead?
All right, yeah, I'll take the lead. So coming in at number 5. This is when we have a really dazzling graphic that we can't afford. Coming in at number 5, I have personally. See, now I'm like rethinking all of these.
It's hard, man.
It was really tough. Taking of Deborah Logan.
That would not make my top 5.
Really?
It would not. It would just miss the cut.
I really enjoyed it. But that, to be honest, that was swappable with The Den for me.
The Den is definitely in mine.
Okay. So those two are, let's just talk about Deborah Logan first, because if it's not on yours, then we'll factor it in lower. Taking of Deborah Logan, who was the director on that? That was no one that I really knew. It was this guy, Adam Robitel. Found footage, again. What I loved about this movie was, first of all, it blew my mind at the beginning when they were using medical footage, medical language, and like stock footage of like hospital scenarios like a real documentary would.
Yeah, because it wasn't even like found footage. It was people making a documentary on Alzheimer's.
And they at least, and again, suspending your disbelief, for a second, I was like, well, how did this all get in if it's found footage? They are editing during the process.
Right.
They are like, there's multiple references to like telling each other to finish editing and things like that.
Yeah.
So they are editing during this. So even if it is, found footage, even if it was, then this is, it adds up in the end, which I thought was great. And just the adding that medical part just really was awesome. And I guess we should kind of talk about just synopsis of it.
Yeah.
So it's a woman who has Alzheimer's, and they kind of invite a student film crew in who it's part of her like doctorate or whatever her college education is, to make a film about this medical issue. And she chose Alzheimer's, and they were going to come live with her and kind of just show the effects of Alzheimer's throughout the course of however long it was intended to be. And then things go awry.
Yes.
It's not Alzheimer's. It's something a little more evil.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah,
I love it.
And it was a slow burn too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Even though I didn't put it in my top 5, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty fresh take on demonic possession.
Yeah. I think we both said like our bottom, our number 5s and number 4s for us were pretty interchangeable.
Yeah.
All the movies we watched were really good.
The lady who played Deborah Logan was amazing.
And we'll talk about this after the break, but I have a list of my favorite actors from these movies and who we think should be the best of 2014 in horror.
I already have my number 1.
I know you do. I know exactly who it is. Joe, okay. We'll save that for later. But yeah, she was incredible. And part of it is just her look. She looked awful.
Yeah,
in the best way possible.
She reminded me of the lady from Pet Sematary, that disgustingly skinny lady.
Yep. Yeah, she was really skinny. But man, you want to talk about like looking like they just plucked you out of the real world. Like she looked so real, and she fit that part. Like that bitchy, cranky old lady part fit her. Yeah. Dead nuts, man. She was great.
Dude, that levitation in the kitchen.
That was wild. That
fucking
was
awesome.
That was wild.
That was a great scene.
Spoiler alert. Not really. Spoiler,
Not really.
though. I mean, you know shit's gonna go
Fucking
down.
who sees an Exorcist movie and doesn't expect levitation?
So, great movie. The only problem I had with it, and I really overlooked it because it was that good, which I always think there's always going to be caveats to horror movies. There's always going to be crap that doesn't make sense because it's all fiction. Guys, newsflash, it's all fictional. Sorry. It's still real to me too, damn it. But some of it is fictional.
Just to cut you off for a second, I was thinking about that, thinking about another movie on our list, and like, our society overanalyzes stuff so much that
it's not realistic.
Dude, can you imagine, like, in 1980, but, oh, Friday the 13th was cool, but no way Jason could have survived underwater for 6 years. Shut up. It's a fucking movie.
Hellraiser can't have pins in his ass.
Jason would never be able to survive in outer space. Shut up.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Fucking enjoy it.
You just gotta let some of that stuff fly. But so towards the end of this, I think a good horror movie is when you can overlook that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's these things that you're like, ugh. And then in the end, you're like, I really don't give a shit. It was so good. Like, I actually enjoyed it. Like,
so what was it?
So the things I didn't like were it started out like we said with that medical footage and stuff. It started out really unique and doing something I've never seen in it, adding that stuff like a real film. And then it slowly just dissolved into your standard found footage film. And this is a spoiler, but at the end, there is like every other found footage. There's the CGI monster in the end. And honestly, I think that's remedied by just using real props. I forget what they call it. We have a friend that's in that industry, but they call it like physical special effects or something. Give me that monster. I mean, that would have been hard and it cost a ton of money probably, but give me the physical special effects on that found footage style, that grainier footage.
Yeah.
And I'm all about it. That's amazing.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah. It's just that CGI always, you see it in the end and you're like, it's almost like a cheap way out kind of like, I don't know. It was so good. And that still didn't affect me because I loved that effect.
Luckily, I mean, they didn't overuse it. It was just that
right.
like a brief scene. So I guess that you're right. You can overlook it. What I did like about this movie was it had like a really good backstory.
Yeah.
On Deborah Logan.
That's true. And that's something I'm not even thinking about, but that's probably what drew me in the most. That story about the possession was really driving. That was a great story.
Layers to it.
Yeah. That was amazing. And that's something you don't really see in Possession either. It's just...
No, they just get possessed.
There's just a ghoul hanging out at your house. Like, oh, we bought a house with a fucking demon in the back seat. Like, fucking sucks for us. Like, sucks for you, nerd. But, that's great. And that's why it made my number 5 spot. Joe, what do you have?
Well, the Den was my number 5.
You're okay. So... You want to bring us through The Den? What's the concept there?
Yeah, let's talk about The Den. It was directed by Zachary Donahue, who, as far as I know, this was his first real movie, big movie.
Really?
The Den tells a story of a girl who uses a social networking program that's kind of like chat roulette.
Yeah.
And this is
I'd say it's the closest thing it's to.
It's like chat roulette, but a lot less dicks.
Well, there's plenty of dicks on there.
I don't know.
And show us your tits.
One time I went on chat roulette, and every time I clicked, it was just a fucking dong after dong. I've never seen anything like that.
Live dongs?
Just like, dude, just fucking dudes, just their dongs flopping around. Whatever. I found it weird because chat roulette was big, 6 years ago. I don't know. Whatever. That's besides the point. So this girl uses
here.
this
I'm
website.
just gonna pipe in for a second. So this movie was like, this is weird. It was made in Russia.
Was it?
It was made and released in Russia first. I'm almost positive. So I was expecting subtitles 100%, and then it appears to be a completely American movie.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I would have never assumed it was a foreign movie.
No, and the guy isn't foreign.
No, Zachary Donahue.
No, it's really weird. Actually, I'm just going to pull up the Wikipedia real fast because it's actually kind of interesting because people might say that this is a 2013 film. IMDb lists it as 2013.
Actually, a couple of these were, but whatever.
But United States 2014.
Right.
Yeah, Russia released first, December 2013. It wasn't released in America till 2014 in March, which is wild. But actually recently, this is not totally off topic, but just interesting, and I think horror fans would appreciate this. I listened to Sam Raimi on The Nerdist recently.
Yeah.
Great interview. If you care about at all, which you probably do, about Evil Dead or anything, you have to listen to it. But the interesting thing was American distributors wanted nothing to do with Evil Dead. So they met this distributor who was like, I'll get it overseas. They love it. They love horror overseas. They sold it to Italy. They sold it to France. They sold it to all these places in theaters, like in big theaters, and they were doing crazy. That's when America finally jumped on board. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the same situation with The Den. They sold it to Russia, did great, and then finally an American distributor was like, all right, we'll release it too. It was just interesting. Yeah. But anyway, why don't you continue with kind of what the story's about? So it's chat roulette.
This one's, I don't want to spoil because, I mean, it's definitely worth checking out. It's this girl uses social media. She witnesses something that she shouldn't, and through the social media and through the computer, her life just spirals out of control, and it doesn't let off the gas. Once it starts, it doesn't let off the gas.
No.
And I was pleasantly surprised. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I was wondering where it was going to take me, and there's just something about the times that we live in and the technology. We all use technology, and the fact that it can be used against you at any time. And we as people, we post pictures of ourselves. We put all our information online.
All the shit online. It's crazy.
I think about it all the time. People are always complaining, NSA is spying on us. They don't need to. We tell them everything.
We post it all online.
Put everything online. Yeah. Anyone can find anything about us at any given time.
That's what drives me nuts. That's what pisses me off. Anybody that is complaining on Facebook about the NSA,
you're complaining on fucking Facebook.
You're complaining on Facebook, and are you really well, I set my privacy settings to lock. Who gives a shit? People are trying to break into people aren't trying. They are breaking into online bank accounts. What do you think they're going to do to your Facebook?
I know, and that's the world that we live in, and that's why this movie kept me on the edge of my seat. As I'm watching on my laptop, I'm like, somebody's probably watching me right now.
It's crazy. And I mean, it was wild, and it's a really great concept, and it was actually one I had to sit on.
I love the end, too. At the end.
Did this scare you?
Scare, no, but it made me uneasy the entire time, and it, there was some jump scares.
I watched this at night. I started it one night, and it scared the shit out of me. I don't know what it was, if I was just in a fucking mood, but it scared the shit out of me. I don't know why. I was just, I didn't like it.
It's almost hard to distinguish the difference between scare and being made uneasy, because I mean, don't get me wrong. I was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just intense.
It was weird, intense. And maybe I was just uneasy, and that, I don't know. Maybe uneasy leads to being scared, but great movie.
Yes.
Great ending. I really enjoyed that one also. But again, that was kind of on my line. I had a bunch of on the line type of movies.
Yeah, looking at everything I've written down, I thought I had a solid list, and I'm like, fuck.
There was a lot that kind of just blended together. Now, this one was on my line, and the more I thought about it, just blew way over it. And I'm thinking about it, I have a solid 4 that I really enjoyed this year. Number 4. The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
Okay. I can dig it.
Loved it. Absolutely loved the shit out of this. Dude,
I did too.
And maybe it's because I went in with the lowest expectations ever.
I did too. I didn't think, I saw this on being talked about and getting rave reviews. I was like, there's no, because I've seen the original. I thought I did not like the original.
I think it was low on Bloody Disgusting's list. Not too low, but maybe a 6 or 7 spot. And I was like, well, I'd give it a shot. I mean, we already had watched a lot of the top ones that people had been ranking. So I figured we'd throw that in there. So happy I watched it. Sometimes I think the slasher movie's dead, and in ways it is. But this was a legitimate, I want to say original, but being that it's sort of a remake.
But I've never seen a movie that references the movie it's remaking in the movie. It's so fucking meta. It hurts my brain.
It blew my mind at the beginning. Yeah. So I don't think this is a spoiler. I mean, it literally happens in the first minutes of the movie.
It tells you in the synopsis.
Right. Yeah.
Too.
So this movie, which I thought was a remake, is actually sort of a sequel in the sense that they acknowledge that the 1976 movie was made.
Yeah. And they show clips from it in the movie. The characters watch
Constantly.
it in the movie.
Yeah.
I've never seen a movie like that. I love this movie. I loved it. I love the characters that they had. I love the gore. I love the kills.
So synopsis real quick. If I guess you wouldn't have had to see the original, but basically same town as the original. Texarkana, which is actually where my grandmother was born and raised.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And 3 of her brothers died in like farm accidents.
Does she know about the Phantom Killer?
You know what? I wish I could ask her. She's dead.
Okay.
I really wish I could ask her though. I might ask my uncle to see if he remembers. I mean, because she would have been around that time.
Because it is based on a true
it's a true event, which is nuts. Absolutely crazy. But anyway, same town as the original. Basically, the original was made as sort of a documentary type of thing. Is how I took it. Like it wasn't. Yeah. It was kind of a documentary. Is what the original Town That Dreaded Sundown is. They play it every year, which does happen. They still do that.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's funded by the town, which is insane. Because in the movie, it's like, oh, the town hates it, but crazy kids are doing it.
Yeah.
And basically, the Phantom Killer returns.
Right.
And that's really it.
Terrorizes the main character.
Yeah.
And yeah, it
Loved it.
It was a fun ride. It was I thought it was well made. It was entertaining.
So, first of all, the blood splatter in this was amazing. Amazing.
It was.
There was a kill scene in a vehicle. That's not a spoiler, right? I mean, it's just a kill scene.
No, it's a fucking kill
You
scene.
know somebody's going to die. Where the blood was splattering.
Yeah.
Over every window. It was no, that would never happen. I loved it. I loved it so much.
I love when somebody gets killed and blood just splatters all over
Everywhere.
That happened in so many movies we watched.
And this was nuts. And I swear, it cut to like every side of the vehicle. It went to the front windshield. Blood all over it.
Yeah.
Side. Blood all over it. Back. Side. Oh, man. It was wild. I absolutely loved it. And honestly, it was like a straight up classic slasher.
It was. 100%.
It was like Friday the 13th before it got ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see that.
You know what? I had it a little lower, but now that we're talking about it, I'm like...
That's what happened to me, too. It was off my list, and as the days went on, I was like, man, that movie was awesome. I could watch that again.
It was. Fuck.
That was a really cool movie. I thought that movie was really cool. Yeah, I would. You have to see it. That's my opinion on that one.
Yeah,
I think you have to see it. It's so worth your time.
It's highly recommended.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe, you're number 4. I probably just ruined it, but
see, now I don't know. Now I might just agree that was my number 4. I was thinking
that's fine.
Of going with The Sacrament.
Okay.
THS, The Sacrament.
Okay, this is perfect. So it's my next one. It's my number 3.
Talk about it.
It's my number 3. So why don't you give us a rundown of The Sacrament?
So should I say who it's based on? Is that too much of a spoiler? Or?
No, because well, you know what? Let me just click on what its synopsis is on IMDb, because I feel like if the synopsis says it, then we're fine, right?
Right. So while he's checking that, I'll just say that Ty West directed it, who did House of the Devil, which is fucking amazing. He did The Innkeepers.
Oh, he did. Yeah, that's right. The Innkeepers was good.
Yes. I mean, I'm more partial to House of the Devil, but this guy's...
House of the Devil...
making a name for himself.
Dude,
in my
House
eyes.
of the Devil was one of my all-time favorites. I loved House of the Devil.
It's fantastic. I love those old 70s grainy feel.
It made my heart. And it's, you know what makes him good is because this movie is so insanely different from House of the Devil, and he still made an amazing movie.
Yeah. This movie I love anything that has to do with religious aspects. And the fact that not only can this happen, but it basically did happen.
Yeah.
Just like
It doesn't really say it in the IMDb thing, but I mean, I think we just kind of have to spoil it a little bit, just a tad. Not really spoil it, guys.
Yeah.
It takes. I mean, here I'm going to read the synopsis. And a news team trails a man as he travels to an undisclosed location to find his missing sister. Upon entering Eden Parish, meeting the community's leader, it becomes apparent to the newcomers. Man, I should not read. Newcomers that this paradise may not be as it seems. And there's a giant cross on the poster. So, I mean, I think people get the idea of what it is.
Yeah, maybe I'll be cryptic.
It's a religious...
I'll be cryptic about it. It's kind of like a cult with based on a real life guy. For any Dipset fans out there, shares the same name as the rapper from Dipset.
Let's put it this way. I mean, literally within minutes of meeting this guy, you understand what the movie is based on.
Yeah,
if you know any portion of history.
But anyways, with this movie, like I just felt like it captured what people really felt like during that event and how terrifying it must have been, and it like put me in that place, and I was like, holy shit, like I could not imagine like this really happening in real life, and it did.
Yeah. And I think so this movie, and it's kind of worn off on me now, so it's hard to talk about, but at the time this movie was heavy.
There's a scene in that movie at the end that like just ruined my night. I was like, fuck.
Honestly, there were multiple scenes. Any scene, I want to say it, but I don't want to spoil it. But I mean, the end was tough to watch. Kind of. It was a little too realistic. At the beginning, that realism was great, though. It really sucked you in. They used so the news guys are actually supposed to be from the news organization Vice. If you've watched any of Vice's specials, this looks like it was edited by Vice. It might have been too. I mean, it was amazing how even the guys talking, the news guys, talked exactly like Vice.
Yeah.
Vice anchors. It was amazing. They even used Vice signed artists because they have a record label, Vice Records.
Yeah.
And they even used Annie's, I think it's called Bubblegum is the name of the song or something like that. But they even used that song. And I was like, this is great. Like this really ties this together and really makes it great. And
it was so well done.
Yeah. And it doesn't use the graininess. But then again, I don't know. Kids today aren't even going to understand what grainy footage is.
But this took place modern day.
Right, which I don't have a problem with, and it's a professional news group.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it, but it just goes back to our conversation about you like that graininess in a movie.
Yeah.
But
this one I didn't mind because it was Vice. You know, it's a professional crew.
Yeah.
They have better equipment.
Yeah. And what I was also thinking about when I watched this was, so it doesn't have the grainy aspect, which is fine because guess what? Our technology is so good, nothing's grainy anymore.
Right.
But what is sad is we're going to lose that the internet and like all the information out there is going to ruin that aspect of like, how did this movie get made? And like, cause now everything's search horror movies and it's there.
Yeah.
It's a horror movie. It's not like when you were picking up a movie from a video store, it might've been in the horror section, but you were like, fuck, this looked a little too real. Like,
yeah.
What the shit is this? Like, and it had all these warnings on it and like, oh fuck. And now it's just like on the internet, like you see the director, you see the actors,
I agree with you.
And that kind of, that's nothing against The Sacrament. That's just something I thought about while I was watching it, but I love that movie. It was my number 3.
Okay.
Number 3. And what is your number 3 then?
See, is it cheating to do a tie? Because honestly, I love Tusk so fucking much that I want to put it up there. And
it's so funny that your Tusk is like either 3 or not on the list. It's either so good or so bad. That's amazing. Like,
so is Tusk a good movie? No.
I hated it.
And I can understand that, but the fact that Tusk exists, like the fact that there's a movie where this dude turns a man into a fucking walrus.
Yeah.
exists, it blows my mind.
You know what? Honestly, maybe Kevin Smith should have taken less money because to me it was just a little too polished, a little too overacted in some things.
I do not agree with that.
I don't know,
Dude,
man.
the fact that Johnny Depp is in this fucking movie
Oh God.
is amazing. Everything about this movie was amazing to me. I saw it in theaters. I was me and the person I went with were the only two people in the theater.
Yeah.
Really, probably the only two people that saw it in that theater in total, and it was so fun. That guy what was I forget the guy's name. The guy that turns him into the walrus.
Oh, I forget his
Who loves
name,
Mr.
too.
Tusk.
Yeah.
Everything he said was fucking gold. And that there's one scene where he's so menacing
Yeah.
right when all the shit's
Howard.
about to go down.
Howard Haw.
Something
Howie.
like that.
Howard Howie.
Something
Howard
like
Howe.
that.
Yeah. Howard Howe.
Whatever the fucking asshole's name is. He's talking, and then out of nowhere, he drops his line about answering the age-old question, is man really a walrus at heart? And he says it so nonchalantly, it's just thrown in there, and I had to pause, and I think I laughed for like the next 15 minutes. Like, wait, what? Because at this point, I didn't know where the movie was going. I was like, this can't be fucking real. And then I thought the way the monster looks when he gets transformed, it was just fucking awesome. Dude, it was like a B movie of the old days.
But see, that's I guess my problem is it wasn't B movie
'Cause it's
They
too much
spent
money?
a fortune on it, and well, not and I shouldn't even say a fortune because it was pretty low budget compared to other Hollywood movies. But like, if you listen to Kevin Smith's podcast, and I love Kevin Smith, I really do, and I really wanted to like this movie, and I went in. I begged my wife for so long to watch this movie. And we watched it and we were both like, oh boy, that was, and it's not even that I don't like it.
Your wife told me it was worse than Geely.
I know she, well, sorry, honey, but you fell asleep for like most of the middle and then woke up at the end and was like, what the fuck is happening? Which is so funny. That might be funny. I almost wish I watched it that way because I'd be like, oh shit, what did I miss? Like, honestly, those Johnny Depp scenes like dragged for me. Like, it was just,
I agree that the Johnny Depp scene did drag.
it was a little too long too. It was just, I don't know. It didn't strike me. And it's funny because you say, I understand how you couldn't like it.
I do.
And I understand how people could like it. I really get it. I get it.
It
but it's
teeters
just,
the line so well. You either loved it or you hated
Yeah.
it. And I fall in the loved it category.
Yeah, not a fan.
So then the other part of my part 3 would have to be Housebound.
Okay. I loved Housebound.
Housebound was...
Let's save it.
Okay. Why, you have it higher up?
Yeah. Let's just move on to number 2 though, and we'll figure out where it lands. It's number. Shut up. All right. Number 2. I have Babadook.
Did not make my top 5 list. And
My mouth is agape.
it did not. Now, hear me out. I loved the Babadook.
I respect you though, because everybody put it as one.
And I don't want to say that I didn't put it in my top 5 list because it's the popular
Like we
thing to
said,
do.
these movies were amazing. Like all the movies we watched were so good.
Here's why it's not in my top 5 list. I thought it was great. I thought the psychological horror was great. I thought the book character was great.
Yep.
That fucking kid was the pits. I hated
disagree.
him. I hated
disagree.
him. I hated his screaming. I hated his yelling.
Oh yeah, that was.
I fucking hated him. And it just took it. Like, all the movies that I've mentioned so far, I would watch again. We screaming in the car.
Oh, that was brutal. But I think it was intended to be brutal.
Be that as it may, it was fucking brutal.
Yeah, I just loved it. I thought the world of the Babadook.
When I saw it, I thought for sure, I was like, oh, this got to be like top 2. And then I watched the other ones, and the Babadook got bumped.
The characters were amazing. The concept was great. The fact that they managed to do something which a lot of movies don't do, which is almost put an explanation behind the crazy things that are happening. Because you didn't know cause she was losing sleep at the same time all of this was happening. Is this all spoilers? Anyway, so the psychological, the hallucinations she has, the fact that they were giving this a medical diagnosis was awesome, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, I agree.
there were outs to everything that was happening. So you didn't know at the end whether this Babadook was real or not.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fantastic.
Don't get me wrong. I loved the movie. I
Yeah.
thought it was great. I thought it was unique.
By the way, at this point in these last few movies that we're about to talk about, if you haven't seen them, you have to go watch them before you listen to us talk anyway, because they were so good.
All these movies I could not recommend.
Yeah.
This year was great for horror.
Yeah, it really was. It was really great. Your number 2.
It's fucking Dead Snow.
That was really good.
Dead vs. Red.
That was really good.
It was so over the top.
Yep.
It was in everything was such bad taste, but it was done so well that you're not like, this is trying so hard, or you're not like, this is offending me.
Yeah.
It was just over the top, cheesy, gory, fun. The whole movie was just fun.
I agree. I'm not a big fan of comedy in horror. There's a line. So I think there's a lot of comedy in all horror. There always is. I like the more subtle, low-key, just chuckle and kind of move on. Or like more character-driven. This had like... And by the way, not even complaining, because I laughed my ass off during this movie. But I don't like that sometimes. Like, and when I watch a horror movie, I don't. I personally, and I know people love it.
I would rather have a creepy feel, but this movie was so fun
cool
to me.
It was so fun, yeah.
It was like Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2 on like a modern day budget to me. Like it was just that type of feel, like fun, just kicking ass, gore.
And I mean, I think that's always what that movie was intended to be.
It was, yeah.
I mean, they were in a cabin. And they find, it is Evil
fucking
Dead.
Yeah.
Just with Nazis.
Yeah, it is.
Gotta get another drink here.
But that movie, like I said, it was just, the only word to describe it for me was fun. I think I was grinning ear to ear the whole time, and like at every kill, I was like, no fucking way, like just geeking out over it. So
definitely the funniest movie on the list. Even
Starr
even with
Zombie Squad was phenomenal.
Even with all the child killing. More child killing than I've ever seen in a horror movie, and it is the funniest movie I've ever seen.
That's what I'm saying. Everything was such bad taste, and like killing a child is so taboo, even in horror movies. And they just fucking not only they kill it, they just like blast them away.
Almost even more in horror movies. I feel like sometimes horror movies go out of their way not to kill a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because they're like, we can't do that.
Yeah, that crosses the line.
And this happened
just
multiple times.
Fucking blows them out of the water.
And without even the hesitation of, so if you do see this in like a modern United States movie, there will be a little hesitation there, whether to make you wonder whether they're going to kill him or not, whether they're going to kill this kid or not, and they usually don't, almost always don't. In this movie,
comes out of nowhere.
No hesitation, just killing children.
That's what I'm saying. They put like, what movie could pull that off? Where you're like,
no one.
At any point where you're like, oh my god, they just killed that kid. No, you're just like, wow, they just killed that kid. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like
it
no
was
movie,
crazy.
Like I can't believe that happened.
I know, it was wild, and again, it was super funny. It's just not my thing. And the fight scenes were great. They were so well choreographed.
They were.
I hate Family Guy, but I'm not gonna lie, the chicken Peter Griffin fight scenes crack me up because it's like a great action movie. There's nothing wrong with a great fight scene, and they animate it so well. But these fight scenes are on par with something that is animated and can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Yeah,
it's like some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen.
the finale fight was
So good,
Yeah,
so good. And again, it suspended your disbelief with some of the situations that they were put in. It was great.
This was actually my number one movie of the year until I watched my number one. Obviously, that's how everything works. But I didn't think anything was going to beat this.
Yeah.
That's how much I liked it.
Yeah. Number one. Do you want to go first or do you want me to? I'll go first. We might as well just keep it going. So my number one was Housebound. And I'm going to make a case for you right now about why Housebound was my absolute favorite. The leading actress was amazing, I thought.
Agreed.
I thought she was so good, so funny, great emotion. They packed so much. It was in like an hour and 40 minutes. So my favorite time frame for a horror movie is an hour and 30 minutes because I think you can do a perfect horror movie in an hour and 30 minutes.
Agreed.
You go 2 hours, you better pull it off really well. And there are some on our list that actually did that. I forget which ones were 2 hours now. But we definitely had some on there. But so it was an hour and 40 minutes and they killed it. They packed so much into it. First of all, it's like People Under the Stairs meets Evil Dead.
That's a good comparison.
It was incredible. I loved it. And you know what? Honestly, they add a little bit of emotion to the end, and that's when I knew how much I loved it. The emotion at the end, like heartfelt emotion in the horror movie.
Housebound was...
It's not around anymore.
Yeah. Housebound had elements of like everything. Genre. The acting was phenomenal, like you said.
Yep.
The storyline took so many twists and turns that
you didn't even know what you were watching. You didn't even know what the fuck was going to happen.
Yeah, I thought like you don't know like supernatural. Is it going to be a slasher? Is it going to be like what? Like it just took you.
The
all
movie
over.
Poster is a swerve in and of itself. Did you look at the movie poster?
I did.
So I can't even spoil it. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But even the movie poster throws you off track of what the movie is actually about, which I think is incredible.
Yeah,
most genius move. I'm going to read the synopsis here for you guys. Kylie, oh boy, these beers don't help reading a synopsis. Kylie Bucknell is forced to return to the house she grew up in when court places her on home detention. Her punishment is made all the more unbearable by the fact she has to live with her mother, Miriam, a well-intentioned blabbermouth who is convinced that the house is haunted. Kylie dismisses Miriam's superstitions as nothing more than a distraction. This is the most long-winded synopsis I've ever seen. Distractions from a life occupied by boiled vegetables and small-town gossip. This is the most wordy fucking synopsis. I'm so sorry I picked this one. Oh my God. However, this is like a spoiler. However, when she too becomes privy to unsettling whispers and strange bumps in the night, she begins to wonder whether she inherited her overactive imagination or if the house is in fact possessed by a hostile spirit who is less than happy about the new living arrangement. It's a pretty good synopsis, except for detailing the daily lives of these two fucking characters. Oh, man. Anyway, so sorry about that. Great movie, though. The heart, it was just great, man. It had every element. I love a movie when me and my wife are watching it and we are like, we're talking during it, but not over it. We're just like, oh shit, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Or one thing I kept saying was, I kept being like, oh, it's like the old guy from Home Alone. Like I always felt like these baddies were going to turn into good guys, like in Home Alone. And, you know, whatever. And it happened multiple times, so no spoiler, just like, and we didn't even know.
You can't spoil this movie because you don't know where it's going to fucking take you while watching it.
And it's like 10 turns.
It really is.
Even if I told you the end, you'd start watching and you'd be like, this guy's fucking lied to us.
Yeah.
This fucking idiot didn't watch the wrong movie.
Yeah.
Watched Homeward Bound. I thought it was phenomenal, man. And the fact that it just, and again, like, so this was pretty funny. Like I chuckled a bunch of times. It was right in that wheelhouse of like Evil Dead, People Under the Stairs, where it doesn't take you out of the movie. Whereas Dead Snow, I laughed so hard I was like, oh shit, like this is a horror movie I'm supposed to be watching. Whereas this, I would just laugh, but it felt like just the character.
Yeah, it was
like when the girl would just say some smart ass thing to her mom, I would laugh. But that was her character, and it wasn't like a joke. It wasn't like a punchline. So,
right.
So I didn't get taken out of it. I chuckled out loud.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. This movie was phenomenal. Like I said, it would be my number 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It'd be my number 3. Not good enough for my number 1. Well, Joe.
Well, that's because my number 1.
What's your fucking number 1?
But it's funny because my number 1's not even a horror movie.
No, it's not. And that's why it's not on my list. God damn it! And this shouldn't be on yours. But
I don't give a shit.
No, we'll talk about that.
It was close enough to horror.
No, honestly, it's in horror for me.
It was, but
and I'll explain why.
I feel like I'm going to lose so. Saying this, all the listeners are going to be like, fuck.
Well, when you're going to start this off with Man Crush, because that's what you have. Yeah, you're going to lose some. You're going to get unfollowed. I hope
wait.
Check your follower count before we release this. I hope it drops.
Did I tell you I was going to start off with that?
No, but I knew you would.
Wow. All right. Well,
Joe.
My number 1, my favorite, which is more of a thriller than a horror, but it's like I said, it's close enough, It's The Guest, directed by Adam Wingard, who did Your Next, who we talked about last week. Who Sean raved over, but this one I rave over The Guest.
I do love it, and I honestly loved this movie so much.
The Guest, like every part of it blew my mind.
Yeah,
and Sean alluded to a man crush, and fuck yeah, that dude Dan Stevens, who was like a chubby butler on Downton Abbey, just fucking shredded weight, got buff, and became a fucking maniac in this movie. And he was awesome. This guy made this movie for me. His facial expressions, his attitude, his swagger.
So I didn't know he was in Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
That see now it makes sense that this guy is like a great actor because he's from the BBC. Okay, yeah, okay. Now this makes a lot more sense because I thought this guy was an amazing actor.
Dude, look what he looked like in Downton.
Come on, get the fuck out of here, little butler. Oh my gosh, he was a great actor though.
This guy's acting. I mean, even, like the simplest looks that he would give during certain scenes, I would just like geek out. And this movie, it took you on a ride, and it started off like you kind of knew where it was going the whole time, and then when it got into its final act, it just went full throttle, didn't let off the gas. It reminded me of just like ridiculous 80s action thrillers, and I fucking loved it. I can't say enough about it. I loved every scene in it. I loved the direction. I loved the synth sounds. I loved the lines. I loved the supporting characters. Everything about it.
It was really good. I think that the lack of characters in it was great. I think they didn't overexpose, like they didn't have to hire so many actors. The music,
it made me feel like I was watching an 80s action cheese flick.
Yeah.
The synth sounds.
But the only thing that was different was it was so loud in the movie. It was like over all other sounds, and I loved it, man. It like sucked you in.
It did. I mean, hands down, this was my favorite movie that I watched of the year. And I don't even know, like, there's better movies out there probably, but fuck it. This movie was the shit.
Hey, man, it's all subjective. Like, that's what our last episode was about, man. Everyone's going to have a different opinion, so it doesn't matter.
Like, Adam Wingard is slowly becoming, like, my hero.
Yeah, I mean...
You can just tell he loves... Like, he grew up on the same shit that I grew up on, and he just puts it into his movies, and he pulls it off well.
Here's what he does that I find so amazing. He doesn't waste a single minute in his movies. You're Next. Same goddamn thing. And I don't think it's bad. It's not in a bad way when I say same thing. It's an amazing formula where you know right off the bat what is happening. He doesn't need a backstory to explain this. He tells the backstory during the movie.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And that's incredible.
Yeah.
Without wasting a single minute of your time, he builds it into the slow parts of the movie.
There wasn't a slow part in this movie.
There wasn't, though. But I mean, there's some storytelling parts is what I mean. Yeah. And that's how they tell the story. And it's absolutely incredible. This guy is really great. I mean, him and Ty West...
Yeah.
New splat pack.
Yeah, Adam Wingard's my number one right now, and fuck what everyone else.
I think this proved it for me also. The guy's acting was incredible again. So what I thought was really great about this was and this is going to make no sense. It's so contradictory. It was very subtle and over the top at the same time.
It was.
How do you do that?
He pulled it off. So yeah,
I don't even know how to say it. Besides that, but it is what it is.
Like when you're watching it, you don't realize that it's over the top, and then when you let it sink in, you're like, "That was fucking insane."
It's insane, but at the same time, it was just so subtle.
It's smooth.
It's just,
the only way it was just smooth.
And it really, I mean, this was a great movie. I really did like it. And the only reason it's not on my list is because if we're grading horror, I wanted to try and stick.
I'm going to argue that the ending solidifies its place in horror.
No, I agree with you. I honestly believe it's a horror movie, but there were so many more pure horror movies that because I wouldn't call it like pure horror, but in my opinion, that's a horror movie. The kill scenes were brutal.
Yep.
To me, that's kind of what sums up horror.
This is the one movie I want to spoil.
Beasts. He's a beast. He's a psycho.
He's a fucking beast. Yeah.
And
that's what I'm saying. That's what makes it
blood.
Horror. Yeah.
There's plenty of that. And in horror fashion, by the way. It was not at all subtle or realistic.
In even the minor characters, like the father in that movie, he does not have a big part at all. But every scene he was in, I fucking loved him.
Dude, well, that guy scares me. Legitimately. And that's a good thing. I believe that guy behaves like that outside of this movie. And I know he doesn't. I pray to God he doesn't. But when I watched that, I was so uncomfortable. He is like creep dad 100%. He's all in.
Yeah.
He's all in.
Yeah.
Well, that's our top movies.
Can we talk about Starry Eyes real quick?
We should probably talk about the movies we didn't talk about. So, was there anything we really didn't talk about besides Starry Eyes? That's pretty incredible. No, yeah. That is it. That's the only one we didn't talk about. So, yeah, let's talk about Starry Eyes, which we both left off and both enjoyed.
See, Starry Eyes...
I guess I shouldn't say enjoyed. We watched. And respect.
Respect's a good word for it. Starry Eyes was really well done.
Yeah.
It was really well made. It was soul-crushing.
Yep.
I wouldn't say I was scared or terrified while watching it, but when it was over, I just felt like gutted. And it was horror. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was horror.
Oh, yeah.
It had the beast element, it had the blood element, but I think it did such a good job. It was meant to gut you.
Yeah.
And it did such a good job at it that it left it off my top 5 because I don't think I'd be able to sit through it again.
In a way, it reminds me of the old like a Rosemary's Baby, where it's so heavy. The horror is in the realism and the horrible situation you're put in.
Yeah.
And not so much the blood, boobs, and babes.
Yeah.
No, that's boobs. Blood, boobs, and beasts.
Yeah.
It's not so much in that as like this is a nightmare that you're living in.
Yeah.
This girl's life prior to even the horror elements
was a fucking nightmare.
I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
I will never let my son go to Hollywood. Sorry, kid. You go watch Starry Eyes. That'll fucking dampen your dreams.
Yeah,
go figure something.
Anyone that wants to run away and make it as an actress. Actor.
Don't watch this.
Watch Starry Eyes.
Well, Joe wants to kill you then because you'll kill yourself. I mean, it's brutal, but I thought it was great.
It was.
It had a little bit of that old. It started out with the old school feel. The music was really old school. It was really cool.
Another one that was heavy.
That synth is coming back, man.
Yeah, I like it.
I liked, and that, that was in Your Next, right? That was the third movie that I had seen with synth recently. Yeah. So, guys, that is our top 5. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to play the guess the rating game. We don't have a name for it, so if you guys can come up with a cool name.
Guess the fucking rating.
I'm going to try and guess the Rotten Tomato scores for all these movies. I know this is a long episode, longer than usual, but it's our year in review.
Yeah.
Even though we only had 2 episodes in 2014, it's our year in review. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
Double horror show in history. I drink your blood and I eat your skin. Men become animals and eat their victims. I drink your blood and I eat your skin. A young boy infects an entire town with rabies and turns a group of men into a band of bloodthirsty zombies ravaging a peaceful countryside. I drink your blood and I eat your skin, will make your blood curdle and your skin crawl. But you will sit there and suffer through the tortures of the damned. You will sit and watch this shocking ugliness splashing across the screen. You will ask yourself, what acts of sadism will this electric knife be used for? What horrors will be performed with this axe, this hose, this dagger, this gun, this sword? All the implements necessary to make this the ultimate in adult horror films. We have painted a bloody picture, but it is only a small part of what actually takes place in I drink your blood and I eat your skin. Can you take it? If you have a strong constitution, we challenge you to test it and sit through. I drink your blood and I eat your skin.
All right, guys, I'd like to thank our sponsor, a movie from 1970, for really helping us pay the bills here. I'm pretty sure we can use that without getting sued.
There's no way those guys have money to pay the bills.
There's no way those guys are alive. Like, that's ridiculous. We're going to try and add those every week until we actually get real sponsors, just because we think it's pretty cool. So if you guys have any suggestion for some Grindhouse movies,
Grindhouse
yeah, because this one was incredible. We had to lead off with it. Guys, thanks for sticking with us. We know it's been a long episode. We're actually going to skip the best actors performances because it's like splitting hairs.
Yeah.
There was like 5 people that we were thinking about. We recorded it and just said forget about it. So we're just going to move on. We're going to go into a real segment, though, which is guess what the rating of this. We've changed the name of this like 3 times. We'll come up with a name, or if you have an idea for a name, let us know. But we're going to try and guess. I'm going to try and guess the ratings of these movies from. Now, are these the critics or the people?
Okay, so I have the critic ratings for Rotten Tomato, and then I have the IMDb rating, which would be people.
Okay, so we'll just do critic rating from Rotten Tomato, and I'll guess. So, Joe, why don't you take over?
Is there any movie you want to start with?
Just nope.
Nope, just rattle
I'm good.
them off.
Yeah.
All right, guess.
No, you know what? I got to start with Willow Creek.
All right, let's do it. Guess the Willow Creek Rotten Tomato score.
Now it's critics, so it's tough. A 4?
Really?
Yeah.
No, Sean. Rotten Tomatoes gave this an 86%.
No fucking way. Are you, I forgot it was in percentage. So honestly, I would have said
okay.
I would have said it was 40 though.
Okay,
that's
40.
fine.
Okay.
30 to 40, I would have said.
86%.
That's fucking unacceptable.
It really is.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to every single one of those critics. I can't believe Jesus Christ. Every horror movie I see is rated so low because critics just shit on horror movies constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, Bobcat. Who is on your payroll, dude? You spent more money paying all these fucking critics to rate this than you did on the fucking movie. Jesus Christ.
You didn't see Exist, but I will tell you that I enjoyed Exist a lot more, and the Rotten Tomato score is a 32%. So 32% for Exist. And
I don't even give a shit what movie it is.
Willow Creek, 86.
That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Oh my God. All right. What's the next one?
Let's guess The Sacrament.
83.
62%. Yes.
All right, dude. I'm going to shit myself. What the?
Let's do The Taking of Deborah Logan.
75.
Rotten Tomatoes did not have a critic that scored it. So the audience score was a 52.
Do you? You don't agree with that, right?
No,
That movie was awesome,
dude.
even if it's not the best of the year. That is a good movie.
Willow Creek got a fucking 86.
Oh my! This is out of control.
Homebound.
Housebound.
Sorry.
I've called it Homebound all
Housebound.
week.
Homeward Bound.
And when you search Homebound, that is all you get.
Housebound.
Housebound. 80.
No. 96%.
Totally agreeable. I'm okay with that. I was guessing low because these assholes.
I know. This is what makes it tough.
Fuck.
Babadook.
93.
97. 97.
All right. I totally get those. That makes sense to me.
The Town That Dreaded Sundown.
82.
78. So.
All right. That's really good. That's my best one.
Starry Eyes.
What do these people want from a movie? How is Willow Creek?
I know, man.
Dude, that is your benchmark for how awful the internet is. That is a benchmark because now nothing makes sense. Now the world doesn't make any sense. What was your next question?
Starry Eyes.
90.
76.
I don't even know what to think about this. So this doesn't make any sense because I thought they were going after all the artsy fartsy stuff.
I know.
And then Starry Eyes is rated that low?
Yeah. Dead Snow 2.
Wait, what was the name you just said?
Dead Snow 2.
Oh, Dead Snow 2. Wow. Okay, I heard something. Nothing. I heard no words. Dead Snow 2, 87.
83.
Okay.
The Guest.
Dude, I legitimately love this. 92.
89.
All right. Well, I was close, but that's unacceptable. That movie was way better. Because that means there's somebody rating that's like in the 70s.
You're right.
You know what I mean? To get to that low.
See, I'm as much as I loved it, I'm okay. I'm more okay with that than I am with the fucking Willow Creek score.
The Willow Creek score just makes no sense. I got to go look up those guys. They're going to be all fake.
Did we say Town That Dreaded Sundown?
Yeah.
Okay. Did we say the Den?
No.
The Den.
72.
80%. And finally, Tusk.
Now, this is a good one. Because this is going to be one where the contrarians come out and they're like, fuck Tusk, fuck Kevin Smith, this is garbage. 60.
A 39%.
Whoa! Oh my God. Guys, you guys need to keep things in perspective. You need... Fuck. You cannot rate that movie a 39 if you've seen Willow Creek.
I agree, man. I agree.
I get subjectivity. That is not subjectivity. That is bullshit. Somebody had to have rated it a 0.
I don't know. I mean, my mind was boggled too. So Willow Creek, I know we weren't going to do the IMDb scores, but it has an 86% Rotten Tomato score, but it has a 5.1 IMDb score.
What's 5? What is that out
of 10?
So like a 50.
So, yeah, 51%.
That makes more sense.
Yes.
That's failing.
Yes.
I would honestly put it in the 30 to 40 range. But that 50 makes sense because you know there's some maniac out there that's like, this is the best fucking twist I've ever seen in a movie. By the way, guys, spoilers. It's the worst twist I've ever seen.
But then Housebound has a 96% on Rotten Tomato and a 6.8 on IMDb. So all the ratings are fucking...
That's bullshit.
Yeah. I don't know who to trust.
Who do we trust, guys?
Trust
the people
us.
or the critics?
Trust us.
Trust us.
Yeah.
Well, that's our show. I want to thank... Oh, you know what?
Town That Dreaded Sundown got a 5.6 on IMDb.
That's ridiculous.
Fuck you.
By the way, let's talk about one other thing really quick before we end the show. We'll go out on this. Can you tell me about the IMDb trivia for taking Deborah Morgan?
So I always whatever. After every movie I watch, I like to browse the trivia sections, just see what went on while making the movie. And I should have wrote this down, but it said on IMDb that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the original choice to play Deborah Logan and the taking of Deborah Logan, but he couldn't due to his marijuana arrest.
I don't even know how to register that. When Joe told me that, I laughed so hard. It makes no sense.
IMDb has never steered me wrong before, so I believe it.
I want to know who wrote it and why. It's so ridiculous.
Dude, to go onto a website for that movie and make a bullshit claim like that about that movie is so funny.
All I could think about was like, we should just edit every horror movie's Wikipedia and IMDb with like random basketball players and original casting decisions. Like Latrell Sprewell was originally cast as Casey in Scream, but he pursued other ventures. Couldn't or like
Charles Oakley was the Babadook.
Yeah, or like Moses Malone was the original Freddy Krueger, but like dropped out to play more basketball. Moses Malone was originally considering retirement before Robert Englund. So stupid. I can't even. When Joe told me that, I laughed so hard, and it's still up. I checked the other day; it's still up.
Yeah, because nobody's going on that trivia page and be like cross-checking it.
And there's not enough like trivia to like be like, well,
it's the only thing listed.
It's the only trivia listed. It cracks me up, guys. I want to thank you all so much for listening. As always, we'd like to also thank Harley Poe for allowing us to use the song Gorehound off the album Pagan Holiday. You can find him at harleypoe.com and facebook.com/harleypoe. He also has links to Bandcamp and iTunes where you can purchase his music. And you can also check out our website, ihatehorror.com, and you can find his links on the sidebar there. Find me on Twitter, at robotsateme.
Find me at fuck, I did.
Do we even have to say at?
Just fucking find me.
Jovi421.
Jovi421. You can find me on Instagram at Boognish1985.
Woo woo. We have a Tumblr, which I'm trying to update. I'm going to give Joe the thing so he can work on it too. ihatehorror.tumblr.com. That's probably where you'd find more of our daily stuff, where stuff we like that we'll post. Our website is really not utilized that much. Hopefully, once we get enough of you requesting it, we'll put up a forum. That's honestly the only reason I'm keeping a normal website, is the forum and to host the audio files. But you can find our website, ihatehorror.com. All of our links to social media are there also. Most important thing, if you like us, please go rate and review us on iTunes. Give us a review. Subscribing also really helps. So please just hit the subscribe button. Even if you like looking at us another way, if you like going to the website and listening, just go to iTunes or Stitcher and subscribe. It really helps us. And we are, by the way, on iTunes and Stitcher now. So nice. That happened this week. I think my other episodes, we said it anyway, but we are officially on there. We're looking good. And that's it. Guys, thank you so much. And we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Adios.